The Beginner's Guide to Friendship Bracelets, the book, is now out worldwide. It's a collection of information and photo tutorials aimed at beginners that will take you from the basics all the way to more advanced stuff. You can buy it any way you typically buy books, but if you order it directly from a publisher, Rocky Nook, you can get the book and the ebook as a bundle. The link to that will be in the description. Hello, my name is Masha Nuts, and today I'm going to teach you how to make this beautiful bracelet. I actually made this bracelet as part of a challenge. It was the roulette challenge that I did. I picked a couple of patterns at random, and this was one of them. And if you want to watch that video, I'll leave that linked in the card and in the description. That was quite a fun one. This bracelet is quite advanced. I wouldn't say that it's difficult really, but there are quite a few steps and there's a lot to remember and a lot to keep track of just because of the number of strings and the number of steps really. You can probably already tell that by the length of this video though. So if you're looking for something that's similar but maybe a little bit easier, I would recommend trying the checkered candy stripe bracelet, which is pretty much exactly this, and it's thinner and much simpler. So if you're looking for something easier, I definitely recommend that one. That one was also really fun to make. So because this bracelet is a little bit bigger and there's a lot more repeating steps, I am going to be going much faster than I typically do. So if you're a beginner, this probably won't be great for you. I do have a beginner's playlist though, so I recommend checking there for a bunch of beginner tutorials. But all that being said, let's get into the tutorial. So to start this bracelet, I decided to do a loop and 2 triangle ends. I think this is the best way to start this bracelet because it really complements the pattern well, and the bracelet is also going to be big enough that the 2 triangle ends will look good on it. I have a separate tutorial on how to make basic loops and how to make triangle ends, as well as a tutorial on how to make triangle ends specifically after a loop. I'll leave all 3 of those linked in the description for you. Really, all you need to know to make the start is the order of the strings, which we're going to go over now. So these 2 triangle ends are symmetrical, and on the outer side it is literally just the black strings. And on the inner side, it is the strings of the rainbow in order. So for me, that's red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, dark blue, and then purple. I made these triangle ends on this side and then I flipped them because I like the way that it looks once it's flipped. It kind of hides those knots for the triangle ends. You can do this, you can not do this, it doesn't really matter because the pattern is symmetrical, so it'll be the same either way. Alright, so what we're gonna start off with is we're gonna be doing the 2 sort of checkered parts of this bracelet, both on the left and on the right. Let's start with the left triangle end, and then we're going to do the same thing on the right, just with opposite knots as it is symmetrical. We're going to start with the red string. All the other colours are to the right of that, and then the black strings are to the left. With this red string, we're going to move to the left with alternating knots. First, the red string is going to do a backward knot onto the black string, then the next black string is going to do a forward knot onto it. Then it's going to do a backward knot onto the third black string, the fourth black string is going to do a forward knot onto it. Then again, a backward knot with the red string, a forward knot with the next black string, and finally one last backward knot with the red string. So we're bringing this red string all the way to the left in alternating knots. So we're doing a red, black, red, black, red, black. That's what creates the checkered effect. Let's get to it. Right, that first checkered row is now complete. Let's put the red string off to the side. We're not going to be using it for a while. Now let's focus on the orange string. We're going to be doing the same thing. We're moving the orange string from the middle to the left, except we're going to be starting with a black knot this time to sort of create that checkered effect in the other direction. We started with a backward knot with the red. This time we're starting with a forward knot onto the orange. So black knot goes first, then a backward knot with the orange string, then another forward knot for the black, another backward knot with the orange string, and so on until we reach the end here. So again, we're starting off with a forward knot onto this orange string for the black. So it goes black, orange, black, orange, black, orange, black. Let's do it. Now that that's done, I'm going to put the orange string off to the side as well. We're not going to be using that until a little bit later. For these checkered bits, that's really all you need to do. So for the first colour, we started off with a knot of the colour. For the second colour, we started off with a knot of the black. We're going to be alternating this direction as well. So if we started with a colour first, then we did a black. For the third one, we're going to go with the colour as well. So for the yellow string, we're starting off with the colour, then the black, then colour, black, colour, black, colour. For the next one, since we started with a colour the previous time, we're going to start with a black. So for the green, we start with a black knot. Then we go green, black, green, black, green, black. Then for the light blue, since we started with a black for the green for the previous color, we're going to start with the color for the light blue. For the dark blue, since we started with a color for the light blue, the previous one, we're going to start with a black. And finally, for the purple, since we started with a black for the previous one, we're going to start with a color this time, and we're going to start with a purple one for the last color there. So again, it's the same thing for each color. You just alternate which ones you're starting with, and then obviously you alternate as you go along, as we did for the first 2 rows. I'm going to do all of these colors except the purple. I'm going to leave that one until after we finish the triangle end on the right, so that I can connect them and go over that connection really quickly. So I'm going to do all of these up until, but not including the purple, and then we're going to catch up about the one on the right. So again, my next color is yellow, and since I started with a black knot for the orange, which was the previous one, we're starting with a color here. I'm going to speed through this part. Alright, so everything on the left side except the purple is now complete. Let's talk about what we're going to do on the right side. So on the right side, we're doing the exact same thing except mirrored. So for every backward knot we did on the left side, we're going to do a forward knot, and for every forward knot, we're going to do a backward knot. So again, we start with the red string, and we start by doing a knot of red, which is going to be a forward knot this time, then a knot of black, which is going to be a backward knot, then a knot of red, black, red, black, red. Then for the orange, again, since we're alternating which we start with the color or the black, since we started with the color for the red, we're going to do black for the orange for the first knot, then it goes sort of black, orange, black, orange, black, orange, black. And then for the yellow, since we started with the black for the orange, we're going to start with the color, and so on. So for every color, we're doing a forward knot. For every black knot, we're doing a backward knot. So I'm going to do it on this side as well, except for the purple. I'm going to hold off on the purple until we connect the 2 triangle ends. But obviously, if you're repeating this pattern, if you're re-watching it and you've already done the start, you can do the purple as well, it's fine. I just like to connect my 2 triangle ends when I can go over that connection straight away with some knots, which is why I'm holding off on the purple. Let's do it. Alright, so we've got the 2 starts and they're ready to be connected. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to connect the 2 purple strings in a forward knot. That's just to connect the triangle ends. That's not really part of the pattern. And then we're going to do what we were doing before. We're going to start with the color on both sides. So on the left side, we're going to do a backward knot with the purple first, followed by a forward knot with the black, then a purple, black, purple, black, purple. On the right side, it's going to be a forward knot with the purple. So we're also starting with the color there, and then a backward knot with the black, and then again, purple, black, purple, black, purple. And then once that's done, we're going to head into the next part, which is the black diamond. All right, let's connect the 2 triangle ends. I'm going to do this very carefully. This is probably the most difficult part. Alright, so now that the triangle ends are connected and the 2 checkered parts are fully complete, let's put the color strings off to the sides and focus on the black strings in the middle. We need to create a diamond with the black strings. There's multiple ways to do this. You can do sort of a reverse chevron shape and go like that until you run out of strings. You can do a chevron shape and start with 1 knot and then sort of go like that until you run out of strings. You basically just need to knot all of the black strings together until you get sort of a diamond shape with them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the string that's in the center. So these 2 strings, I'm going to take the one that's on the left and I'm going to do a row of forward knots until the last black string. Then I'm going to grab the next string from the left and I'm going to do a row of forward knots until the last black string. And I'm going to continue doing that until I run out of strings on the left. You can do that the same way, or you can do it however you want. We just need to create this diamond. Next, we need to make 2 little triangles on both on the left and on the right in a rainbow. Let's isolate the color strings on the left. This is the group of strings we're going to be working on, ignoring all the other strings. We are going to be taking the outermost color and just doing a row of forward knots until the purple string, until we run out of strings. So first with the red, then with the orange, and so on until we reach the dark blue, which is just going to do 1 forward knot. Super simple. And then we're going to do the same thing on the left side. We're going to isolate those strings, and we're just going to do backward knots with the outermost string in order until the purple string. So let's do both of those. They're going to result in 2 cute little triangles, and we're going to continue the pattern. Alright, the 2 little triangles on the sides are now complete. We need to do 2 more checkered parts. Except they're not going to be exactly identical to those ones. In these ones, the colors are going sort of in an outward direction, whereas in these ones, the colors are going to be going in to prepare for the little sort of chevron that we're going to be having later on. So in the beginning, for the left side, we were doing sort of backward strokes, or backward knots, I guess, to bring those colors out, and forward knots on the right side. In this one, it's going to be the opposite. So this side is going to be going in forward knots to sort of bring those colors towards the center, and this side is going to be doing backward knots to bring those colors towards the center. But the general sort of idea is the same. Let's focus on the left side for now, and we're once again going to start with the black. So again, on the left side, every time we make a knot of the color, we're doing a forward knot. Every time we're making a knot with the black, we're doing a backward knot. And with the red string, we're gonna start with a knot of the black. So we're going black, red, black, red, black, red, black. Then again, just as we did in the beginning, once we get to the next color, we're gonna remember which color did we start with. We started with the black for the red. So for the orange, we're gonna start with the color. So that means a forward knot first. So orange, black, orange, black, orange, black, orange. Then for the yellow, we started with the orange, we started with the color the previous time, so we're going to start with a black, and so on. So it's exactly the same sort of idea as we did in the beginning. Let's do it. Starting with the red, and we're doing a backward knot for the red. Alright, the checkered part on the left is done. We need to do the same exact thing on the right side now. So again, we're starting with the red and the black that are in the middle, and it's the same exact principle. The strings are moving towards the center, so we're going to be doing backward knots for the color and forward knots for the black. We start off with the red and the black, and we start off with a black forward knot, then a red knot, then black, red, black, red, black. Then for the orange, since we started with a black for the red, we're gonna start with a color knot. Then for the red, we start with the black, then for the green, we start with a color knot, and so on until we reach the end with purple. We've done this 3 times already, so I'm kind of speeding through this, but let's do this one. This bracelet gets quite big before the pattern repeats, so I had to move down the tape. Both of the checkered parts are now done. Let's move the black strings off to the sides. We're just going to be focusing on the color strings in the center. We've only really got 2 steps left, and this one is super simple. We're just going to be doing a chevron. We start off with the 2 red strings in the middle, which just do a knot between each other. Then we move on to the orange strings, which do a chevron, and all of the other strings in order continue doing a chevron shape until you run out of strings. Super simple, super easy. Let's do it. Alright, that chevron shape is now done, and we are off to complete the last step. So we just need to make the black triangles on the left and on the right side. This is going to be pretty much identical to how we did the rainbow triangles, except obviously all of these strings are black and not a rainbow. So starting on the left, we're going to be taking each of the outer strings one by one and bringing them towards the center in forward knots until this last string. And then on the right, we're going to be taking the outermost strings and bringing them towards the center in backward knots until this last string. And you do that on both sides until the strings run out, and it's going to result in 2 little triangles. And there we go, the last step is now complete. That is all of the repeating pattern. It's actually quite a lot. There's a good chunk there, also behind the screen there. To continue the pattern, you just need to start from the beginning of this tutorial. You can rewind, there's timestamps in the description for you to do that easily. You're gonna need to do these sort of 2 checkered parts that we did for the triangle ends, and then continue on in all of the steps that we discussed. Obviously, when you do the checkered parts, now you're going to be ignoring the part where I'm talking about connecting the 2 triangle ends, since that's really only applicable for the first part. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to go finish this bracelet off camera and show you once I'm done. And this is what the bracelet looks like once it's complete. I actually really enjoy this pattern. This is my second time making this bracelet. I've already done one. I don't have it because I gave it away to someone, but I had a blast both times, to be honest. I also finished it off in 2 triangle ends with some twisted ties, and I just love the way that looks. I think the pattern complements it beautifully. I do want to remind you that my book, The Beginner's Guide to Friendship Bracelets, is now out worldwide. Obviously, if you've made this bracelet, maybe you don't need a book for beginners, but perhaps you know someone who does. The holiday season is coming up. It might be a great present to give. It is available for purchase anywhere you typically buy books, but if you purchase from my publisher, Rocky Nook, you can get the book and the ebook as a bundle. I'll leave that linked in the description. And before I go, I also want to give a special shout out to my patrons, and especially my top supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the work I do on this channel. If you also want to do that, the link to my Patreon is in the description. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you ever make this bracelet, make sure to tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!